The crystalline spires of the U.S. Harmony's bridge caught the light of a distant star, casting rainbow patterns across Commander Reyna Patel's dark skin as she reviewed the morning's system reports. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement in diplomatic relations, a joint venture between humans and the crystalline Lumini species. But after 6 months of seemingly peaceful cooperation, something felt off today. "Commander," Lieutenant Chris's melodic voice chimed from his station, his crystalline form shifting through shades of blue to green, a sign of concern among his kind. "Environmental readings are showing unusual fluctuations in Deck C." Reyna frowned, pulling up the relevant data on her console. The Lumini required precise temperature control due to their crystalline biology. Even minor variations could cause them significant discomfort. "Run a Level 2 diagnostic on the environmental systems," she ordered, trying to keep the worry from her voice. Ambassador Therix was aboard, and any disruption to their comfort could jeopardize years of careful diplomacy. "Diagnostic complete," Chris announced, his form now shifting toward an anxious purple. "Commander, the temperature is rising at an accelerated rate, 2 degrees above optimal parameters and climbing." "Engineering, report," Reyna called out, already moving toward the environmental control station. Their chief engineer, Joseph Martinez, responded immediately. "Commander, we're seeing cascade failures in the primary cooling systems. Backup systems are..." "Wait, they're not responding to commands. Something's wrong with the base programming." The bridge grew tenser as more Lumini crew members began showing signs of distress, their crystalline forms clouding slightly in the rising heat. Reyna knew they had minutes, not hours, to solve this before the temperature became dangerous for their alien allies. "Lieutenant Chris, coordinate with medical to prepare emergency cooling stations," she ordered, then turned to her first officer. "Commander Thela, you have the bridge. I'm heading to engineering." The corridors of the Harmony felt warmer with each passing minute. Reyna passed several Lumini crew members being escorted to emergency cooling stations, their usually brilliant forms growing increasingly dull. Human crew members were sweating but managing better. Their bodies evolved to handle temperature variations that would incapacitate their crystalline counterparts. Engineering was chaos when she arrived. Joseph's usually immaculate workspace was strewn with open panels and diagnostic equipment. The engineer himself was half buried in an access shaft, cursing in Spanish. "Talk to me, Joseph," Reyna called out, wiping sweat from her forehead. He emerged, face reddened from heat and exertion. "It's not mechanical failure, Commander. Someone's altered the environmental controls at a fundamental level. This is sabotage." The word hung heavy in the air between them. After years of building trust between their species, the idea of deliberate sabotage was almost unthinkable. "Can you prove it?" "Look at this." Joseph pulled up a diagnostic screen. "These code modifications are sophisticated. They're designed to gradually increase temperature while masking the warning signals. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." Before Reyna could respond, Ambassador Therix entered engineering, their usually magnificent crystalline form notably dulled. 2 human security officers flanked them, looking concerned. "Commander Patel," Thyrix's voice carried the musical qualities of all Lumini speech, but now held an edge of accusation. "My staff is becoming incapacitated. Some are already showing signs of crystalline degradation. This vessel was meant to demonstrate the possibility of cooperation between our species. Instead, it may prove why such cooperation is impossible." Reyna straightened, meeting the ambassador's crystalline gaze. "Ambassador, we're dealing with sabotage. Someone has deliberately compromised our environmental systems. I give you my word, we will find who's responsible and correct this situation." A convenient explanation. Thyrix's form shifted to a deep red, a color Reyna had never seen in a Lumini before, particularly given that your human crew seems remarkably unaffected by these system failures. The implications hit Reyna like a physical blow. The Lumini ambassador was suggesting this was a human plot. Worse, she couldn't entirely dismiss the logic. Humans were indeed handling the temperature crisis far better than their Lumini counterparts. "Commander," Joseph's urgent voice cut through the tension. "Temperature's spiking again. We've got maybe 20 minutes before it reaches critical levels for Lumini biology." Reyna made a quick decision. "Joseph, focus on restoring the environmental controls. I want solutions, not theories right now." She turned to the ambassador. "Your people's safety is our priority. We've prepared emergency cooling stations throughout the ship. Please allow us to escort you there while we resolve this crisis." As security led the reluctant ambassador away, Reyna's communicator chimed. "Commander," Lieutenant Chris's voice was strained. "We're detecting unauthorized access attempts in the auxiliary control room. Someone's trying to override our remaining environmental safeguards." Reyna exchanged looks with Joseph. The saboteur was still active, still aboard, and now they knew where to find them. "Security teams to auxiliary control," she ordered, already moving toward the door. "Seal all access points. Nobody gets in or out until we get there." The hunt was on, but Reyna couldn't shake a growing suspicion that catching the saboteur would only be the beginning of their problems. As she hurried through the increasingly stifling corridors, she wondered if the true test of human-Lumini relations was about to begin. The auxiliary control room lay at the end of a seldom-used maintenance corridor on Deck F. Reyna moved silently alongside Lieutenant Dominic Reed, the ship's head of security, while two other security teams converged from different directions. The heat had become oppressive, and even Reyna's uniform was now soaked with sweat. "Life signs," she whispered to Dominic, who held a bioscanner. He frowned at the readings. "One signature inside, but there's interference, possibly from the saboteurs tampering with ship's systems." Through her earpiece, Joseph's voice crackled with static. "Commander, they're attempting to override the last firewall. If they succeed, we'll lose all control over environmental systems." "Understood." Reyna signaled to the security teams. "Breach on my mark. 3, 2, 1. The door slid open with a hiss of hydraulics, and security teams flooded into auxiliary control. But instead of finding the saboteur at the controls, they discovered an empty room, save for a small crystalline device pulsing with an inner light, connected to the main console. "Nobody touch it," Reyna ordered, then activated her comm. "Joseph, are you seeing this?" "Affirmative. It's Lumini tech, but modified, like nothing I've seen before." Lieutenant Reed's bioscanner peeped insistently. "Commander, that life sign I detected. It's moving through the maintenance shafts, heading toward the cargo bay." Reyna made a quick decision. "Lieutenant, take your team and pursue. I'll coordinate with engineering to contain this device." As security departed, Reyna studied the mysterious crystalline object. Its presence raised disturbing questions. If this was Lumini technology, why would they sabotage their own people? Unless... Her thoughts were interrupted by Ambassador Thyrix's voice over the ship-wide comm. "Commander Patel, your security teams are pursuing one of my diplomatic staff through your maintenance systems. Explain yourself." Reyna felt a headache building behind her eyes. "Ambassador, we've discovered a device of Lumini origin being used to compromise our environmental controls. I need to know if you recognize." "You dare accuse my people?" Thyrix's musical voice had become sharp, discordant. "While your kind remains conspicuously unaffected by these malfunctions." "Commander," Joseph cut in urgently. "That device, it's not just controlling temperature. It's gathering data, scanning our systems. It's learning about us." A new voice joined the channel, Lieutenant Chris from the bridge. His usual melodic tones strained. "Commander, multiple Lumini crew members are showing signs of severe crystalline degradation. Medical can't keep up with cooling treatments. We need to evacuate them to their ships." "Belay that," Reyna ordered, pieces falling into place. "No one leaves until we understand what's happening. Ambassador Thyrix, meet me in my ready room. Now." The next 10 minutes were chaos. Security reported losing their quarry in the maze of maintenance shafts. Medical continued reporting deteriorating conditions among Lumini crew members, and Joseph's analysis of the crystalline device revealed increasingly disturbing implications. When Ambassador Thyrix entered the ready room, their crystalline form had dulled significantly, but Reyna noticed something odd. The ambassador moved with more fluidity than other affected Lumini, as if somehow protected from the worst effects. "You're wearing personal temperature regulation," Reyna said quietly, "while your own people suffer." Thyrix's form shifted through complex patterns of color. "You overstep, Commander." "Do I? That device we found. It's not just sabotage. It's gathering intelligence about human physiological responses to temperature variations. This isn't an attack on the ship's systems. It's a test of human capabilities. Your species," Thyrix's voice held both accusation and something else. "Fear? You adapt too quickly. Survive conditions that would destroy others. Some among my people believe this makes you dangerous, unpredictable. So this crisis was orchestrated. To what end? To prove that humans cannot be trusted with advanced technology. That your biological advantages make you a threat to galactic stability." Thyrix's form pulsed with deep red light. "But we didn't anticipate complications." "What complications?" Before Thyrix could respond, Joseph's voice cut through on emergency channels. "Commander, that device, it's not just gathering data anymore. It's rewriting our core systems. Temperature's about to spike beyond anything we've seen. And there's something else, something in the data it's collected." The ship-wide emergency alarm began blaring. Through the ready room's viewport, Reyna watched in horror as sections of the hull began to glow with an inner light, the same crystalline luminescence as Thyrix's people. "What have you done?" she demanded. "Not us." Thyrix's musical voice held genuine fear now. "That technology. It's ancient. Forbidden. We thought we could control it, use it to study your kind. But it's not just testing humans anymore. It's evolving." The deck beneath them shuddered as more sections of hull began to crystallize. Reyna's mind raced through implications. If the entire ship transformed, became crystal like the Lumini. "Joseph," she barked into her comm, "tell me you can stop this." "Working on it. But, Commander, you need to see these readings. The crystallization process. It's not just affecting the ship. It's trying to affect us. All of us. Human and Lumini alike." Reyna turned to Thyrix, whose form had begun to pulse in sync with the spreading crystalline patterns across the hull. "Your people made a terrible mistake, Ambassador. Now help us fix it before we all become part of whatever evolution your ancient technology has planned." The ambassador's response was cut off by a ship-wide power fluctuation. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in blood-red shadows. Through the darkness, Reyna could have sworn she saw patterns moving across her own skin. Faint, crystalline patterns. "Commander," Joseph's voice was barely a whisper now. "I think I know what this technology really is. It's not just a weapon or a test. It's a bridge between what we are and what the Lumini used to be, before they became crystalline." The implications hit Reyna like a physical blow. This wasn't just about testing human adaptability. They'd accidentally awakened something that wanted to force the next step in both species' evolution. As if confirming her thoughts, the ship's computer spoke in a voice that was neither human nor Lumini. "Beginning species integration protocol. All biological forms will be optimized. Resistance is biochemically impossible." Reyna watched crystalline patterns spread across her hands, beautiful and terrifying. They had hours, maybe minutes, to stop an ancient technology from forcibly evolving both species into something entirely new. And their only hope might lie in the very human adaptability that had started this crisis in the first place. Time seemed to crystallize alongside the spreading transformation. Reyna watched the patterns crawl up her arms, catching the red emergency lights like facets in a diamond. But unlike the Lumini's natural crystalline structure, this felt wrong. An artificial evolution forcing itself upon unwilling flesh. Joseph, she called through the comm, fighting to keep her voice steady. Talk to me. What are we dealing with? The device is tied into something in the ship's cargo hold, he responded, his voice strained. Some kind of dormant crystalline matrix. Ambassador Thyrix's people must have brought it aboard, but I don't think they understood what it really was. It is called the Genesis Heart. Thyrix spoke softly, their form now pulsing in perfect synchronization with the spreading crystallization. A relic from when our people first changed. We thought it dead, inert, a tool to study human adaptability. We were wrong. The ship shuddered again. Through the viewport, Reyna could see the crystallization spreading across the hull like frost on a window. More disturbingly, she could feel a presence in her mind. Alien thoughts, geometric patterns, the cold logic of crystal. Medical report, she demanded, fighting the intrusive thoughts. Lieutenant Chris responded, his usually melodic voice rough with strain. 40% of human crew showing crystalline growth. Lumini crew experiencing changes. Their normal crystalline structures are being altered. Some are losing coherence entirely. Commander, Joseph cut in urgently. The Genesis Heart isn't just transforming us. It's rewriting the ship's systems to support whatever we're becoming. Once it finishes, there's no going back. We'll all be something else. Reyna forced herself to think through the growing geometric patterns in her mind. How long? 2 hours, maybe less. Lieutenant Reed, she called to security. Status of the maintenance shaft pursuit. Trail led to Cargo Bay 3, Commander, but we can't get in. The doors have crystallized shut. Cargo Bay 3. Where this all started, where the Genesis Heart waited. Joseph, meet me there. Bring whatever scanning equipment you can carry. She turned to Thyrix. You're coming too, Ambassador. Time to face what your people have awakened. The journey to Cargo Bay 3 was surreal. Crew members they passed showed varying stages of transformation. Humans developing crystalline growths, Lumini structures becoming fluid and organic in places. The ship's corridors themselves seemed alive, pulsing with internal light. They found Joseph already at the cargo bay doors, surrounded by diagnostic equipment. His hands, like Reyna's, showed advancing crystallization, but his eyes burned with determined focus. The doors aren't just sealed, he reported. They're becoming part of a larger crystalline network. The whole ship is being converted into a massive processing node. Processing for what? Reyna demanded. The answer came not from Joseph, but from a new voice, Lieutenant Reed's quarry from the maintenance shafts. A Lumini scientist emerged from around a corner, their form unlike anything Reyna had seen before, half crystalline, half organic, patterns flowing between states like liquid mercury. Processing for ascension. The scientist said, their voice resonating through both air and crystal. The Genesis Heart doesn't merely transform, it perfects. Combines the adaptability of human biology with the stability of Lumini crystalline structures. Perfection without choice isn't evolution, Reyna argued. It's extinction. Your resistance is expected, the scientist replied. The heart predicted human psychological barriers to forced evolution, but your bodies betray you. The transformation cannot be stopped. As if to emphasize the point, a wave of crystalline growth surged through the corridor. Reyna felt it in her bones, a lattice of sacred geometry trying to rewrite her DNA. Through growing panic, she noticed something crucial. The scientists kept their distance from the cargo bay doors. Joseph, she whispered, geometric thoughts threatening to overwhelm human ones. The heart, it needs proximity to direct the transformation. That's why they sealed it in the cargo bay. That's why our friend here won't get too close. Understanding dawned in Joseph's crystallizing features. If we can reach it, we can end this, Reyna finished. Then louder, to the scientist. Why did you really bring the Genesis Heart aboard? The truth. Our species is stagnating. The scientist's form rippled with complex emotions. The crystalline adaptation that once saved us from extinction now limits us. Humans represent chaos, change, adaptation. The heart can merge our strengths, create something greater than either. The scientist's monologue gave Joseph the distraction he needed. He slammed an emergency override into the door controls. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like breaking glass, the crystallized doors shattered. The Genesis heart waited within, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with impossible colors. Patterns of light within its faceted surface mirrored the thoughts now fighting for control of Reyna's mind. Beautiful, terrible, perfect. No. The scientist lunged forward, but Reyna was faster. The same human adaptability they had feared now let her push through the crystal's influence just long enough to reach the heart. Her crystallizing hands touched its surface, and suddenly she understood. The heart wasn't just a transformer. It was a repository of Lumini history. Their original evolution, their fears, their hopes, and most importantly, it can be reasoned with, she gasped. It's not just a machine. It's alive. And it's so very, very lonely. Through her connection to the heart, Reyna felt millennia of isolation, of waiting for species worthy of its gift. But forced evolution wasn't a gift, it was desperation. The heart had been alone so long it had forgotten the most important lesson of both human and Lumini history. True evolution came from choice. Through her connection with the Genesis heart, Reyna opened her mind completely. She shared humanity's history, not just their adaptability, but their struggles, their failures, their choices, good and bad, the messy reality of natural evolution. We grow through challenge, she told the heart, feeling its ancient consciousness respond. Through choice, through failure. Perfect adaptation without struggle isn't evolution, it's stagnation. The heart's pulses changed rhythm. Through their shared connection, Reyna sensed its understanding growing. Millennia of loneliness had warped its purpose, to guide evolution, not force it. Joseph's voice seemed distant. Commander, ship's systems are starting to stabilize. The crystallization is reversing. The Genesis heart dimmed, its patterns becoming softer, less demanding. The crystalline growths across Reyna's skin began to fade. Throughout the ship, both humans and Lumini felt the forced transformation retreat. It understands now, Reyna said, maintaining her connection to the ancient consciousness. Evolution requires freedom to fail, to choose, to become. In the days that followed, the U.S. Harmony lived up to its name in unexpected ways. The Genesis heart remained active but transformed, no longer a tool of forced evolution, but a bridge between species. Those who chose to communicate with it gained deeper understanding of both human and Lumini perspectives. Ambassador Thyrix stood beside Reyna on the observation deck, watching stars streak past. The ambassador's crystalline form had returned to normal, but something had changed. A new flexibility in their thinking, perhaps. The rogue scientists have been taken into custody, Thyrix said. But their questions remain. Our species must evolve. We will, Reyna replied. Both of us, but we'll do it together, through cooperation and choice. The heart showed us that's possible. And the device itself stays aboard under joint supervision. A reminder that our differences aren't weaknesses, they're opportunities. The Genesis heart pulsed gently in its new home in the science lab, no longer lonely, no longer demanding perfection. Instead, it had become a symbol of what humans and Lumini could achieve together, not forced uniformity, but strength through diversity. As Reyna completed her final log entry, she reflected on how close they'd come to losing everything that made both species unique. The true evolution, she realized, wasn't physical at all. It was learning to see difference not as a threat, but as a gift. The U.S. Harmony continued its mission, carrying people of crystal and flesh among the stars. And in its heart, an ancient consciousness watched, learned, and for the first time in millennia, understood that imperfection could be the greatest perfection of all.